Well, good morning. Welcome back to the PT on Ice Daily Show. This is Friday. It's Fitness Athlete Friday, and I am your host, Mitch Babcock. It's been a minute since I've been on, so let me reintroduce myself. Lead faculty for the Clinical Management of Fitness Athlete courses. That's our live weekend intensive. That is our essential online concepts, and that is our advanced online concepts. Of which both are going on right now. Advanced Concepts is in week 7, talking pregnancy, postpartum, intro, and Essential Concepts is in finishing up there in week 8, talking the snatch, and having a great time with both of them. So thanks for all that are in the cohorts right now. We're excited to get back on the road when we can, and be returning to cities near you. Fitness Athlete Friday. Let me just address the elephant in the room, if there is one. Many of you know that I run a CrossFit affiliate in Michigan, CrossFit Fenton, and Alan addressed on Monday some of the current situation with CrossFit. We are not going to circle back around to that today. I think it's still an evolving situation, and there's many people trying to gather more information about that. And I think Alan did a really good job of summarizing kind of collectively our thoughts at ICE. And if anyone wants to reach out and pick my ear a little bit about my specific situation here at the gym, I'm happy to talk to you. You can get a hold of me direct on my Instagram at Dr. Mitch DPT, or send me an email, or happy to jump on a call if you want. Like I said, it's just an evolving situation, and it's too early yet to dive into that any deeper. So thanks to Alan for addressing that for the community at large. Today, I want to talk about problems facing our athletes right now, and ways that you as a PT can help, and that's the returning to fitness post-COVID, or post-quarantine rather, right? Many of us are starting to have some restrictions lifted. Maybe in your area you've been back, and I'm sorry that this message is late for you, but if you are like us, you're just starting to get some access back into some things. And for us, that's outdoor fitness has kind of opened up. So our gym has been doing some outdoor CrossFit and fitness stuff at our facility, and we're hopeful that northern Michigan, where we're southern Michigan, but the northern parts of Michigan are reopening to gyms, and we're hopeful that that's going to carry down to us relatively soon. So what we have been seeing this week is a returning to some CrossFit programming for athletes that have been off since March 16th. That's the last day our gym was open. Obviously, we've been doing at-home workouts, our Zoom workouts, trying to do fitness at home, but those are limitations, right? Those aren't all-inclusive, all-encompassing workouts and programs, and there are a bunch of athletes who have not touched a lot of different components of their fitness in 3 months. So I want to address a couple ways that you can help in your programming or in your recommendations if you're working with athletes, just to make sure that they ease back into it. And sometimes saying ease back into it to an athlete doesn't carry any weight. They hear that, make sure you ease back into things, and they go, thanks, but no thanks. So let me break that down further. If you're working with athletes, that this is them. So the first thing is the training frequency. Ask them before quarantine, how many times per week were you training, pretty consistently. Many athletes will say 3 to 5 times per week was their frequency. And ask them what their split looked like as well, right? So a lot of our athletes typically do a 3 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off, right? Meaning Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I take Thursday a rest, I go Friday, Saturday, I take Sunday a rest. And when the gym opens back up, you may think, I'm just going to go back into my normal routine. And for some, that may be okay. For some, they may want to think about changing their frequency, doing a 2 on, 1 off split instead of a 3 on, 1 off, right? And that's just a simple way to back the training frequency down, to make sure that your body has enough time to adjust and accommodate, and giving it a little extra rest time in those first couple of weeks as you return back to full speed. So doing a Monday, Tuesday, rest Wednesday, doing a Thursday, Friday, rest Saturday, and then maybe next week you start your training cycle Sunday, Monday, you take Tuesday off, you go Wednesday, Thursday, you take Friday off, and so on and so forth. So for the people that are hard planners, this may be tough for them because they built their week out around their training schedule, but nonetheless, that's option number 1. Option number 2 is looking at the training volume, and by that I mean in-session volume. So think about those workouts that are big, long chippers, right? Like the 100 reps of this, 150 reps of that, 200 reps of this, 300 of those. those workouts, while they're mental grinders and they have a lot to teach about skill capacity over high volume sets, aren't great for returning to fitness after shutdown, right? For athletes that haven't done toes to bar in a while, we did a workout that just had sets of 20 toes to bar in it, and given the time cap, I was able to work through 6 toes and ended up totaling 120 toes to bar, which felt fine. Got tired towards the end, no big deal, but left 4 days worth of midline soreness and hip flexor soreness and fatigue, right? So those sorts of things were like, how much volume are you accumulating over a session, and do you have that volume in check? A good way to program that stuff is to keep your time domains shorter, to keep your AMRAP shorter, keep your rounds for time minimal, and not making sure that athletes aren't accumulating a ton of extra volume or a ton of extra reps over the course of the training session. The other thing to look at is specific movements that may be, that were likely neglected over the 3 months. And when you reintroduce them, how are you reintroducing them? Things like GHD sit-ups, that almost nobody has a GHD at home, right? Things like ring muscle-ups that most people didn't have access to, or bar muscle-ups, even pull-ups. A lot of our members haven't done pull-ups in 3 months. They didn't have a pull-up bar. They couldn't make one. They didn't have a door jam pull-up rig. So even pull-ups, we have to be mindful of, like, hey, I know that you didn't use a band before, but maybe it's a good time right now to supplement with a band. Or in today's workout, for example, at our gym was 21-15-9 of overhead squats and pull-ups. Well, I know that in a normal day you could do 21-15-9 of pull-ups, but because you haven't done them in 3 months, let's make the pull-up volume 15-12-9. So it's 21-15-9 of overhead squats, but it's 15-12-9 of pull-ups. Just a simple way to split and change the volume of that movement, to take into account the fact that you haven't touched a pull-up bar in 3 months. Your hands might tear, your shoulders, your lats are not conditioned to handle that much volume. Let's just keep the volume in check and back it down a little bit, right? Another simple way to just auto-regulate and make sure that that stuff stays in check, right? So think about what movements athletes haven't been exposed to, right? For me, toes to bar, that open expanding of my entire torso and hips caused a lot of soreness in my hip flexors and lower abs. Other movements like muscle ups, bar work, anything heavy bar loaded. So we redefine heavy for all of our athletes Monday when they came back. Like, hey, heavy is by feel right now. Heavy is not what your percentages say heavy is, or what your past 1 rep max may have told you, I should be able to lift that much. Well, throw that out the window right now, because if you were just operating with dumbbells or a kettlebell or 2 over the quarantine shutdown, and it's your first time back to the barbell, everything is going to feel heavy. Okay, so understand that heavy right now is a subjective day-by-day feel. And so we did a workout Tuesday, and we utilized tempo to our advantage a little bit. We had 7 total sets of front squats to get done. The first 4 sets were a tempo cadence, right? And then only the last 3 sets did we allow people to take the tempo off and continue building up. But those tempo on the front end regulated how heavy and how fast someone was going to build up, right? Because usually athletes just start slapping weight on the bar, and then they get too deep too fast. We put that tempo on there, and it made them pause and appreciate that the bar does in fact feel heavy. Let's work on our positions a little bit, and let's slow roll this a little bit more than what we would have. But practicing that workout, I'm standing in front of the class saying, hey, don't be too hard on yourselves. Like, show yourself some grace right now, and understand that, like, you've had a lot of time away from the bar. And rather than being upset at how heavy it feels and getting discouraged about how much strength you feel you may have lost, instead just be appreciative of the fact that you're back squatting again, you're back to front squatting again, and we're going to get back into a rhythm. Consistency is key here, not just trying to pick it all up in one session, okay? So make sure that your athletes understand that, reacquiring strength is much easier than acquiring it the first time. So all the work they put in to get their maxes to where they were, they're now processing that they think that they have to put in all that work again to rebuild it. And it's not the same linear progression that it was to get you there, okay? Reacquisition of your 1 rep maxes, because those neuromotor patterns are already established, because your body knows what it needs to do. It's felt that weight before, and while this weight feels heavy, getting back into our rhythm, getting back near our 1 rep max again is going to happen a lot quicker than what it what it took you to develop that strength in the first sentence, right? So make sure that they are aware that it's not looked at through the same lens, that it's going to take as long as what it took them initially, and that they just need to show themselves some grace. Take what feels heavy today, live to train another day, and be consistent over the next couple of weeks, getting some training sessions back under their belt before they get into anything. Which leads me to my final point. Don't test anything right now. Please don't come back if you're in any way connected to a gym or programming or working with athletes, don't have this idea that you need to reestablish 1 rep maxes and we need to reestablish where we're at. So by doing a big test week and testing out benchmarks and Fran and doing a max deadlift, please don't do that, right? Because it's irrelevant data and it only puts your athletes at risk right now. They haven't touched these bars. They haven't done these movements. Why on earth are you asking them to rip the race car to full race speed? Just get some good training sessions in. Program a couple more EMOMs. Do some not for time workouts. Like do some community building fun stuff. Like just get repetitions back under their belt before you say, okay, now let's enter in a new phase and now let's get back into a strength building or an aerobic capacity building cycle. And then maybe you want to test some things to be able to reassess. But for the next couple of weeks, the first intro couple of weeks, I would say 2 to 3 weeks of just getting training sessions back under your members' belts, making sure they're recovering well, monitoring their soreness, monitoring their recovery, and make sure they're ready for another training day. Keep your volume in check, have the conversation about training frequency if you need to, redefine heavy, and make sure that your athletes are showing themselves a little bit of grace when they return to the gym. Our athletes are just pumped to be like back with people again and hearing loud music and in the gym, and that's good enough for them, right? And so focus on the positives, focus on the things that have been given back, right? That we can take advantage of, and then we'll build on that. We'll build our fitness from there as we go along. So just a few thoughts because we're in that right now, and I wanted to share them with the greater community. If you are also working with athletes, something to pass along with them and to keep in mind, right? So again, appreciate you guys logging in. I see a lot of faces and names on both Instagram and on Facebook. We got Sarah, Joey, Brian, Henry, Lindsay, Sean, a handful of others. Appreciate you guys being on live. Thank you all for downloading the podcast per usual and your support of ICE through some very difficult times the last few months. We really, really appreciate it. Our community is incredible here. It's cool to see a group of PTs that stay so strong and moving forward together through difficult times, good and bad, right? So pumped to see it and pumped to stay in communication with you guys. I hope you're all doing super well and continue to trend in a positive direction. And we'll see you all back on the road very, very soon. Have a great Friday and a great weekend, everybody. Take care. Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.